Alright, so this video is meant for multiplying fractions and multiplying mixed numbers. So if for some reason, after all of these lessons, you're still struggling with it, you're not quite understanding it, I want you to watch this video to help you with your homework, to help you study, and anything of that nature. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to start off with just multiplying fractions. The actual multiplying part is actually fairly simple. It's the simplifying part that can sometimes get complicated. So if you have your factor sheet, you may want that while we're watching this video. And I want you to use this video as a tool where you see this math problem. I want you to pause it and then see if your answer matches the one I do after going through it. So if you haven't done 2/5 times 3/7, I want you to go ahead, I want you to pause it and go ahead and give it a try. So 2/5 times 3/7 is, since we're multiplying two fractions, they're both fractions, we simply are going to multiply our two numerators together, and we can even rewrite it as one big fraction, saying 2 times 3, and then we can have our denominators. We're going to multiply our denominators because that's our next step. 5 times 7. And so we can go ahead and we can do 5 times 7. And then we can actually solve that. So, because we can do multiplication because we are amazing at our facts. And 2 times 3 is 6. And 5 times 7 is 35. Now we are going to look at this and we're going to say, hey, is this simplified as much as possible? And your answer is yes, that is simplified as much as we possibly can at this point. So we're going to go ahead and say, hey, that is our answer. We're done. Perfect. Now we're going to do 7/8 times 6/11. And with this one, there's actually something that maybe you might see right away. As you know, in class, we've been talking about the fact that you want to first look for if they have any common factors, if any numerator has a common factor with any denominator. And in this case, we do. Oh, sorry, I clicked on something. In this case, we do. 6 and 8 have a common factor of 2. That means that they can both be divided by 2. And if you struggle with your factors, you can also use your factor sheet and say, hey, 6 and 8, when I'm looking at those two boxes, they have 2 in common. That 2 means they can both be divided by 2. So we're going to go ahead and we are going to take 6, we're going to cross it off, and we are going to divide 6 by 2 because that's our common factor. 6 divided by 2 is 3. So now instead of 6, we're going to consider that to be 3. And we're going to do the same thing with 8. We're going to cross it off because we're going to divide. 8 divided by 2 is 4. So now this is going to become a 4. And look at that. Great. I have now simplified. Now there are no more top numbers, numerators, that have anything in common with our bottom numbers, denominators. So then we are just going to multiply across. 7 times 3 is 21. So that becomes our new numerator, our new top number. Then we're going to look and we now have a 4 here. Remember, we're not doing the 8, we crossed it off. So then we do 4 times 11, and that gets us 44. Now, because we simplified before we multiplied, we got our simplified answer right away. So we go ahead and we can circle it. I'm going to double check that my answer is simplified by looking at 21 and 44 and seeing if they have any common factors. and the only common factor they have is 1, so that means I'm done. Now, if you had paused the video and done this problem on your own, and you had gotten 7 times 6, which is 42, and 8 times 11, which gets you 88, you were partially right. You did the multiplication correct, but you just had to make sure that you simplified, because you would have had to simplify those larger numbers to get 21 over 44, which is another reason why I like simplifying before you multiply, because then you don't get really large numbers and we can keep them small and numbers that we can do in our head. All right. We're going to go ahead and we're going to go over to our mixed numbers now. If you need to repeat and go back and look through that problem and how we reduced or we simplified before we multiplied, I would do so now. If you understand that part and you're ready for mixed numbers, go ahead, try this problem, pause it, because I'm going to go through on how to do it. So you should start off by remembering you cannot by any means multiply a mixed number. You cannot multiply the mixed number. We are going to have to change this mixed number into an improper fraction. That's our step one. Step one, change mixed numbers to improper fractions. How do we do that? We take our denominator and our whole number and we multiply them, and then we add our numerator. So that would be 5 times 4, and then we add 1, so that would make 21, because 5 times 4 is 20, and 20 plus 1 is 21. So that actually becomes my new numerator. So I'm going to rewrite that last fraction with our new numerator. Now my denominator doesn't change because I'm just changing my mixed number into an improper fraction. So the only thing that's going to change is my numerator, my top number. Since this number is just 5/7, it's a normal fraction, we're just going to leave it 5/7. We're going to write 5/7. We're rewriting the fraction because, well, it's probably better to rewrite that fraction. So now we have two fractions, and we can go ahead and we can multiply just like we did in the last problem. But before doing so, we are actually going to simplify before we multiply, because that's the way we do it, because we want to keep our numbers small. So we look here and we say, are there any numbers that are on top that have a common factor with the number on bottom? And your answer should be yes. There's a very obvious one here, 5 and 5. So 5 and 5 have a factor of 5 in common. So we're going to divide them both by 5. 5 divided by 5 is 1. That's where I got that. 5 divided by 5 is 1. So now I no longer have 5s here. I have 1s there. Much easier number to deal with, if you ask me. Now, before you try and multiply across at this point, I want you to look. There's another number that has something in common with, or another numerator that has something in common with the denominator. 21 and 7 both have a common factor of 7. So we're going to divide them both by 7. 21 divided by 7 is 3. 7 divided by 7 is 1. Awesome. So now I'm as simplified as I can possibly get. So I'm going to multiply my numerators. 1 times 3 is 3. And then I multiply my denominators. 1 times 1 is 1. Oh, hey, wait a minute. We learned something about this. When there is a denominator of 1, we never write it like that. If we have 3 1s, we have 3. We get a whole number. Perfect. So our answer is 3. 5/7 times 4 1/5 is 3. Did you get it? All right, let's move on to the next one. One more problem. We're going to give it a go. If you think you've got it at this point, you don't need to do this last problem. But if you think you're still needing help, I want you to go ahead and I want you to try and do this problem with me, okay? So here I've got 1 and 3/5 and 3 2/3. And so here I can't multiply these, mixed numbers. So my first step is going to be to change these mixed numbers into an improper fraction. So because I'm running out of room, I'm actually going to see if I can move these up real quick. So let me just guide. Oh, it's not letting me. Oh, there we go. Moving them up a little bit. All right. So now we're going to go back to our pen. Okay. So we've got 1 3/5 times 3 2/3. We are first going to do 5 times 1 plus 3, which gets us 8. Oh, I'm worried this is going to, because it's a magic pen. Hold on. Yep, see, it's going to delete on me. Let me see if I can figure this out real quick. There we go. I know what I can do here. We are going to just do this. There we go. Now I've got it. So I'm going to change 1 3/5 into 8 over 5. And I'm going to change 3 2/3 into 3 times 3 plus 2. So 3 times 3 is 9 plus 2 is 11. If you heard that little guy, that's Emmett. So we got 11 over 3. Now I'm going to look and I'm going to say, hey, can I simplify before I multiply? And your answer is actually, no, you can't. So sometimes that's going to happen. You can't make numbers smaller every time. So because I can't simplify before I multiply, I'm just going to go ahead and multiply across. 8 times 11 is 88. 5 times 3, because those are my denominators, is 15. And I have my fraction of 88 over 15. Now some of you may go, hey, Miss Schultz, I can change this into a mixed number. And you are 100% correct. You would ask yourself, how many 15s fit into 88? And you would say 4, 5. 5 15s fit into 88. That takes out 75. So you would have 13 left. 13 over 15. If you're still struggling after this video, I want you to go ahead. I want you to raise your hand and ask for more help. Hopefully this video helps. If you need to go back to the problem where we were reducing, go ahead, rewind, and go back and replay. See if you can get it. All right.